cap off 25 Days of Christmas. This film alone, centering around the Muppets, is the first film I watched that had nothing to do with the Muppets from 2011, nor its sequel Muppets Most Wanted in 2014. And considering since I've been thinking about reviewing these movies for this schedule, despite the fact that I wasn't planning to, I decided to cap it off with one of the best Muppet movies out there. My perspective towards the Muppets when it comes to the 1970s towards the 1990s or 2000s are mostly mixed. Like, I did see bits and pieces involving the Muppets, and by watching their performance, mainly the fact that it's centering around A Christmas Carol, it just really goes to show that if you place them into anything, it will work. And yes, I am fully aware that there are mediocre to poorly made Muppet movies. Not saying that the puppets in these films are terrible, it's just the writing and the execution that sums up the setting in the 2011 film. But most of the time, these films are still catered to kids, and while yes, I understand that when the kids get older, they're not gonna be able to enjoy some of these films, but when it comes to A Muppet Christmas Carol, and the fact that it's being labeled as one of the best Muppet movies out there, I've got the impression that this film is mostly overglorified. I didn't say it's overrated, I mean overglorified, because for someone who is less interested when it comes to Christmas carols, especially reviewing the Powerpuff Girls earlier, I wasn't expecting much. And I did review a few Christmas carols over the past several years, mainly in 2019 with the Looney Tunes Bah Humbugged Christmas film or Christmas special. So, in my opinion, I really felt like that the execution throughout this film, when it comes to the Muppets and how they're portrayed in a Christmas Carol setting, I'm honestly say that it's really harmless. Like, you can put the Muppets into anything and it can be described harmless all over it. To get this out of the way, Scrooge, who is the main protagonist in this film, gave me vibes that he isn't the type of person that I'm familiar with, because with this taking the Christmas Carol seriously and legitimately, then I really felt like that his character was really done right, especially of how it's portrayed. Believe me when I say this, the amount of times I see Scrooge in this film, he really feels like the character that actually fits the role in the Muppet universe, or whatever timeline this is in, because as far as I'm concerned, if there really is a Muppet timeline, then this will probably be way earlier in the years, knowing full well that there are multiple copies of Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, and the other characters, if that's the case. And considering that the Muppets are mostly the past, future, and present spirits that Scrooge is dealing with, it's pretty much the highlight of the film for me, and knowing full well that these characters actually fit the role nicely than I remember it. Upon watching more bits and pieces of this film, it just really captures the magic involving the Muppets. And considering that I've only watched the Muppets from 2011 and Muppets Most Wanted, it's really saying a lot knowing full well that this film came out nearly 2 decades until the 2011 film came out. To be honest with you, every single Muppet in this film really fit the role completely when it comes to representing characters from the Christmas Carol book. Granted, I'm fully aware that they made changes when it comes to this adaptation, but on the other hand, I really felt like that every single Muppet in this really does the part right when it comes to Kermit the Frog among the other characters, especially the great Gonzo narrating the entire film. To be honest with you, the one time of this film for how it's executed gave me the impression that this is definitely the best Christmas Carol adaptation that I've seen, and even though it's not saying much considering I did not see a lot of adaptations aside from the ones that I've already reviewed, I can still think that the Muppets instantly handled this Christmas Carol gimmick a lot more better compared to the other Christmas Carol's adaptations that I've seen in the past. And believe me when I say this, I felt like that watching this entire film, I still felt entertained. And considering that they really did a good job when it comes to some of the humor and the Muppet puppeteers in here, then I can guarantee you that people would still consider this as one of their favorite Muppet films. Granted, I would think otherwise after watching The Muppets and Most Wanted, but still. Okay, if I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you when it comes to the qualities that this film has to offer, is that I may enjoy the songs from The Muppets and Most Wanted, but when it comes to the songs in here, I'm not really that much of a fan. Not saying that they're terrible, but at the same time, with the exceptions of Scrooge's introduction song, every single song in this, regardless if it does fit the character's situation when it comes to the past, present, and future of Christmas, it still wasn't enough for me to be entertained. Like, I can understand the meaning of every single song in this, but at the same time, whenever I look at the songs from the Muppets 2011 film and Muppets Most Wanted, I was invested in those songs because years have passed, and compared to the songs from this, you can say that it could be better than those songs when it comes to music genres. But at the same time, in the 1990s, well, Disney, regardless if this film has nothing to do with the Disney Renaissance, it really felt like that it was the decade of Disney singing, and this was before Shrek became a thing in 2001. For me personally, the songs fit in the Muppets' characters, especially during the Christmas Carol, does work, and I cannot deny that. But the thing is, I'm not really into Disney songs when it comes to the 1990s, even though that they play a major part of Disney's popularity when it comes to the Disney Renaissance. And when it comes to this film, which they did made, doesn't change the fact that I'm still into Disney products completely. Like, I'm fully aware that Disney isn't completely Disney without their animated films on their own, without any of the other companies. But on the other hand, I really felt like that the songs in this film are still has a meaning to it, but at the same time, I still couldn't enjoy them. Believe me when I say this, it's difficult to be a Disney fan when you're new to this type of stuff. But considering that Scrooge actually carries the entire film when it comes to what he sees in A Christmas Carol compared to the other characters, since that he really cannot stand Christmas, then let me tell you, anyone will probably be in his shoes, to the point that the future spirit sequence towards the end of the film is pretty much the biggest highlights, knowing full well that they actually do a better job on the Muppet puppeteers of the expressions, and the fact of what Christmas is going to be like when no one is with their families. Instead of snowing, it's raining. And for me personally, it just adds the attention of detail of what the future would have been if Scrooge didn't give his employees the time they need with their families on Christmas Eve and even Christmas. And I can't even imagine of what the original plans of a film would have been like without the Muppets, because for me personally, it will probably be a lot more darker, and while yes, there are darker elements in this, it didn't change the fact that this is all in a Muppet's point of view compared to watching this in a normal point of view. Granted, it does tackle one of the elements when it comes to the past spirit sequence, while Scrooge sees his past, well, he was about to get married, but then something bad happened to the point that he didn't had a family compared to the other characters in this film, I really knew where this was going. And considering that in the present sequence where we see another song along with Comet and Miss Piggy's family being together, if the present wasn't going to affect the future of what Scrooge saw, then I really felt like that it really handled it a lot more entertaining and heartwarming. But for me personally, the future sequence is slightly better for how it hit it hard on Scrooge's heart. Believe me, it really goes to show that even if you're not the Grinch, you're still going to be a really ruthless person during the holidays no matter what. Now yes, I am fully aware that Scrooge chose money over being married with Bella, which was the lady from the past, which really makes sense onto how that he was being way too ruthless than he was. But considering that he took a different path compared to what other families do when it comes to their own path by not choosing anything over them, it really feels like that if you're in Scrooge's position without a loving family, then you pretty much don't know what it feels to be in a family growing up. I mean, granted, he did have parents when it comes to his time in school in the past Spirit segment, but for me personally, he pretty much didn't know what marriages were like because his parents didn't tell him what marriages is all about, since that he wasn't into them completely. And the way I see it, I felt like that they really wanted to make Scrooge a really ruthless character in order to make the setting of this film work. Because A Christmas Carol, well, it's taking place in London a long time ago. I can't even guarantee what A Christmas Carol would have been like when it comes to the present day. I mean, there are possibilities, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to how the Muppet adaptation executes this idea differently compared to the other adaptations, I wasn't really expecting much from a Muppet product. Because for me personally, I usually expected something to be really good or just being decent enough to watch it once in a while. But overall, I found this movie entertaining for a Christmas Carol plot. Granted, last year I reviewed The Ghost and Marty McGee's Saving Christmas, where it had Christmas Carol elements in it, but when it came to this, well, it's taking it legitimately seriously towards the book, then I can instantly tell that this is the better adaptation involving A Christmas Carol. If I'm ever willing to review another Christmas Carol adaptation in the following years, keep in mind, it's mostly on a different perspective of how Christmas Carol is handled. You can say that there are bad Christmas Carol adaptations, and I can't deny that after reviewing the Powerpuff Girls 2016 episode of it. But on the other hand, I really felt like that I'm really looking forward to future Christmas Carol movie reviews if I'm ever willing to in the season of Christmas. With that being said, I'm giving A Muppet Christmas Carol a 7 out of 10. And that wraps up 25 Days of Christmas. And let me tell you, I'm never going to do a month like this again in the future. Believe me when I say this, this was literally the all out of all outs. Okay, there were last minute decisions that didn't work out in the end, but this is literally the 6th time I'm celebrating Christmas with these videos. What did you really expect me to do?